Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today I'm bringing you a different kind of video. I guess we call it a vlog, a catch-up vlog. It's been a few days since I made my last video. And you know, there's a lot of questions out there. I've gone over so many different topics. In fact, this is episode, I think, number 56, and I know it's really easy to get kind of lost in the maze of the equipment that I use or that I have in here. So I thought I'd do a video today on what it is exactly that I use in my home office to do all my work with, to give you a better idea of how everything is situated and located and what hardware it is that I use. So let's get started with that. But first, I want to bring you the weather. The weather today is, it's kind of overcast, cloudy. We had some severe thunderstorms come through here last night, and evidently I'm right outside of San Antonio, Texas, so about 20-30 miles from it. They had some actual tornadoes touch down around the Almas Park, Almas Dam Basin, and out by our airport and Nacogdoches area out there, and even some high tension towers were folded over, so it takes pretty strong winds to do something like that. So, but today it's, you know, here, let me bring it up here for you. Yeah, it's about 66 outside. It's and it's going to be warming up throughout the rest of the week. As you can see here, it'll be 80, 84, 86, 80. So anyway, this is our upcoming weather here for the week. And it looks like the weather has cleared up, and we're not going to get any more rain until probably next Tuesday. But it's another one of the joys of living in South Texas. And pardon me if I'm a little low energy today. I'm just not feeling quite myself. I don't know what's wrong with me. But again, not your problem. So let's get started covering what it is I use to run my business, my home office here at Unky Joe's Playhouse. So in order to keep track of all my crap on my network, and I use this for my clients as well, I use a program called Lansweeper. They make a free version of it. I'll put a link in the notes down below or in the comment section, so you can go out and take a look at it. It's free of charge for up to 100 IP addresses. I'm well under that, as are most of my clients. So this is what I use to kind of keep track of everything out on my network. It allows you to label it, give it common names. You can see it. It tells you what type of what type of device it is, and manufacturers, your IP address, your MAC addresses, everything. It keeps it in one neat to use, easy to use place. This is not going to be a tutorial on Lansweeper, but I'm going to use it to show you what it is exactly that I use on my network and what it's all for. So we'll start up here at we have our camera for the living room. Camera for the office. I have a Cisco switch. You can see out here that gives me the IP, the MAC address. If I were to drill down into that switch, I could get some more information on it. I can add a location. I'm not going to do that. I can have documentation or even comments. Another D-Link camera. These are my two TiVos. As you can see right here, I can identify those as TiVos. This is a D-Link camera that I have in the kitchen. Here's a couple of Dell monitors, my desk phone, my workbench phone, my iPad, my iPhone, my Carrier control firewall. This device right here is my workstation that I'm on right now. So if I click into that workstation, you'll see it's got my name here, Windows 10 Enterprise, what domain, who the manufacturer of the board is, the memory, processor, motherboard, graphics card, any audio and video devices I have on hard drives, etc., etc., etc. I can get a configuration file up on it, all these wonderful little things I'm not going to dive into. This tells you all the software I have on my machine. So it's just a good way to kind of keep track of all the assets on your network. So I'm currently running an i5 3470S processor at 3 gigahertz. We'll go back and let's come down here to DC1. So MCS DC1 is my domain controller. It is running, pardon me, it is running Windows Server 2012 evaluation version. It tells you right here it is a virtual machine. Let's see, it tells me what subnet I'm on, the Hyper-V server it lives on, which is MCS-HV1. So this is my domain controller here. Go back to my assets. So MCS edit, we're going to skip over that. Here's my ESXi machine. So if I click on that, that's that quad-core AMD processor with 16 gig of RAM. It's a good little processor. This thing probably eats up as much wattage running alone as one of my Dell servers, because these AMD processors are pigs on electricity. They're not very well suited for server environments where low power is something, especially not this one. I bought this years ago. But it also tells you, here's my hard drive storage on there, my NICs. Tells you the BIOS on the motherboard, the BIOS state, and then it tells me any VMware guests I'm running on there. So that's my hypervisor. HV1 is, you can see, a Dell PowerEdge R710. So if we click on there, it gives me the information. I'm running 2012 evaluation. It's a PowerEdge R710. However, the express code and the serial number are messed up on these two. I guess that's a glitch within Lansweeper software. But it tells me when it was originally purchased, when the warranty expired even. My network card's in there, what CPUs I have in there, how much RAM. Then the hard drives are right here. And then it also tells me what virtual machines I have set to run off of that HV1 machine. So then we have HV2. You notice I have the IPMI interfaces here as well, the remote access controllers for those two Dell servers. It counts them as a device as well. So I can go into MCS Hypervisor 2, and that's the other Dell server. It's currently powered up right now because I am actually using Exponology. I'm doing some testing on it for another video. Same thing here. It gives you a brief synopsis of everything that's in there. I can even see how often it's been up, how often it's been powered off. I can do that by the week. I can do it by the month, etc., etc., etc. Again, if you want to find out the ins and outs of Lansweeper, go download it. It runs as a web server in the background on your machine, and we'll go out and scan your network for devices. So I find it very helpful. Another thing it allows you to do really easily, for example, if say I wanted to get in remotely to this machine, all I have to do is click here, and it opens a remote desktop session. Rotch here, you can't see it. It opened up a remote desktop session and would have let me in. You also have some tools over here you can ping, do a NetBIOS status, HTTP, etc., putty into it, whatever you need to do. Here's my SAN right here. So this is that, it's running Windows Server 2012 R2 evaluation. It's a Core i3 with 8 gig RAM, tells me the model of the motherboard. And this is the unit that is running Drive Bender, that gives me all my file storage in a pool right here. I did a major boo-boo on this pool, moving some files around. I deleted an entire folder and subdirectory and on Drive Bender, and I thought they were gone, and I went out and I got a tool and was able to run it on that and recover those files because I had clicked the wrong mouse button and had deleted the wrong directory on the wrong drive. So I may pop that up at the end of this video, just show you what happened and what program I used to overcome that. So that's my SAN 1. Surveillance 1 is the Windows 10 machine. It used to be the Hackintosh. It still is. It's right behind me with the dual monitors. That's the one I use for my surveillance system. And then I've got this is my Blu-ray player in the living room, my spouse's phone, our Roku's in the bedroom and living room, a couple of more monitors, a tablet, a TiVo Bolt, my wireless access point, I don't know what this device is. We'll look that up. My Exponology test, etc. So that's pretty much what I use here to run Unky Joe's Playhouse. It's not a whole bunch of equipment, and what I really like about Lansweeper is it allows me to keep track of all that equipment very easily. Now, I don't use all this equipment all the time. For example, the two servers that I run that are 24/7 are MCS HV1. That's my first Dell server, and then MCS SAN1, which is my NAS or storage area network machine. Those two machines run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We pay about 10-11 cents a kilowatt hour here. So think of it like this. You remember in the old days when you had incandescent light bulbs? That is, those are the old school, white light bulbs that you screwed in, and they had a filament inside of them, usually made out of tungsten or something like that. And they came in 40 watt, 60 watt, 100 watt, and I don't know if you ever remember it, but my father was forever griping at my mother for putting 100 watt light bulbs in all around the house because, one, they ate up a lot of electricity. One light bulb eating 100 watts. Those Dell servers at idle consume about 100 watts, or one light bulb. It's not a lot of power. But if you're over in Europe, or if you're over in some other country where electricity is more expensive than it is here, then it's all about cost. So I'm going to warn you. People look at me and go, "Oh wow, you run those Dell? Aren't those expensive to run?" No, I think I did the math on them, and they're between $7 and $10 a month to run each one of those Dell servers full time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To me, that's not a lot of money, and I just make that equation. It's like running one of those big 100 watt light bulbs that your dad was always bitching at your mom for buying instead of the 60 watt bulbs. They even made a 150 watt bulb, and those were the three-way bulbs. Remember, you had one that was on like 40 watts, and then it would go to 60 watts, or I'm sorry, you had one at 60 watts, then it would go to 100 watts and 150, and had those big bulbs in them back in the 70s. And Dad always had that three-way light at his sofa so he could read, because he was getting old and blind. So that's about how much power these Dell servers. When people go, "Oh, these things consume a lot of power," dude, we used to have light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs that on average consume 60 watts per light bulb. Now these little LED bulbs consume about 8 to 10 watts. The fluorescents are about 12 or 13 watts. So that's why they've mandated using fluorescent and LED rather than filament bulbs, because they use less electricity. But here's the paradigm. Here's the rub. We have more devices consuming power than we used to. So I can always remember my father going, "Turn off the lights. If you're not in the room, you turn off the lights. They don't need to be, in the room." The other thing about incandescent light bulbs is they put off a lot of heat. Anything that consumes power is going to dissipate that power some way, and this was in the form of light and heat. Because you could put your hand above those lights and you couldn't keep it up there for very long. They were awfully warm. But that's how you can keep in your head how much power one of those Dell servers is consuming. The only other time I turn these machines on is when I need to use them. So the ESXi machine normally is not running. The secondary Dell normally not running. The NAS and the primary Dell are the ones that are running all the time. Then I've got my switch, which is running all the time. I've got my TiVo Bolt, which is running all the time. I've got a switch behind me right here where my thumb is. See the blinking lights? That's another gigabit switch from my workbench, which right now is a mess, as you can see. And that's pretty much what I use and keep running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then, of course, there's my workstation here, which even though I've told it can go to sleep, sometimes it doesn't. I'll come in the morning sometimes and the monitors will be off, but the PC won't. This unit right here that I'm running as my primary workstation is getting ready to get reloaded. I have put so much crap on it since Windows 10 came out. It's doing some really odd stuff now that I don't want to go into, but it's going to get a reload here probably over this next weekend to see if I can't get it a little more stable. And I also have some other things in here which get used occasionally. I've got that projector on the ceiling when I do training classes, or if I want to watch a movie, or I prefer to watch my technical videos on there. I'll download them from YouTube and then watch them on that on the bigger screen, because it's just easier to deal with. And then of course I have the ever-present air conditioner in here to keep everything cool. And it's interesting, I had somebody ask me the other day, why are you running your air conditioner? It's only like 71 degrees outside. Yeah, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I got 8 devices in here putting out heat. And when they consume power, they produce British thermal units of heat. So you have to keep that in mind. Out here, I think the nationwide average for the U.S. is between 10 and 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So our electricity here is not that expensive. Now, when you get into more urban areas, where you get into bigger cities or out on the east and west coast, you guys are getting totally like this. I cannot believe the rates you pay for electricity on the east and the west coast. But that's why we live, and we're on a co-op too, so we get quite a lower rate than you do in the big cities. That's why I've never bothered to put solar up or to put wind power up, because our cost per kilowatt hour here, it would take me 40 or 50 years to recoup that investment, and I'm 50 already. I'm not going to be around that long. So those of you that are concerned about me consuming a lot of power, for the United States, 1,500 to 2,000 kilowatt hours a month is pretty much average, and that's pretty much what we do. Sometimes we go a little bit more than that. I know over in Europe you're used to consuming less. Your houses are smaller, your refrigerators are smaller, your cooking surfaces are smaller, you have less space to heat. And you guys are, I've seen the apartments over in Europe, and I know why you're I know why they keep the apartments small, because they're easier to heat and cool. And I feel for you, but in the U.S. we kind of have, a little bit, cheaper infrastructure, I guess. You guys got better internet though, so what can I say? So here's something that I just wanted to show everybody. Even I make stupid mistakes. In trying to set up a test environment for Plex running on the Exponology NAS, I inadvertently deleted one of my subfolders on my video drive called Action Adventure, where all of my Action Adventure movies were stored, and unfortunately I deleted them. However, there is a wonderful program made called Recover Professional. It's about $20, and if you're likely to have a problem with a clicky mouse button finger like I do, you will find this is a good investment to have on your NAS or your Windows server that will allow you to go back and recover files should you inadvertently delete them. There are some tasks to do before you do this, and one is make sure that nothing is reading and writing to that hard drive, because your chance of recovery is less if you've got other devices reading and writing from a hard drive. But this just goes to show you that even though I'm running a proprietary piece of software called DriveBender on my NAS, and it is in Windows, still the underlying file system is simply NTFS, and there is a way for over the just regular in the market programs, recovery programs, to recover files that you've deleted. Now, if I had been using Exponology, they actually offer you a recycle bin on your file shares, but since I'm not using Exponology and I'm using DriveBender and a Windows file system, I had to use this program to recover those files. But this is just a lesson to those of you out there with that don't read the screen before you delete sometimes, like I did, got in a hurry. Sometimes you can get your butt out of the fire by running a program like this. And hopefully I've gotten all those movies back, or will have all those movies back in that folder here in the next amount of time. So there you go. That's what I use in my lab. And it works for me. It works great for me. I spent a good majority of last week doing a lot of research on FreeNAS, Unraid, Exponology. Exponology is by far my favorite. But I keep coming back to DriveBender. I just can't, And now after I had that boo-boo with my data that you just saw, where I deleted the files, and I was able to go out there and do a proof of concept that with normal recovery tools, I think Recover is $20. And I recommend, if you have a server or if you have a NAS running Windows and you're prone to deleting files like I am because you didn't pay attention to something, you invest in it. But that just goes to show you, even with Drive Bender, an off-the-shelf program, people were concerned, oh, Drive Bender is proprietary. No, it isn't proprietary. Neither is the other program that I reviewed and did a head-to-head comparison with. And I just keep coming back to Drive Bender. It just so suits my needs. So not a bash on FreeNAS or Unraid. They just I don't have any use for them here. I want to get the most use out of the hard drives that I have. And now I've ended up installing Drive Bender on that new Dell machine too, to manage those 4 500 gig drives I put in there. So it suits me just fine. So I don't think you're ever going to see a video from me coming up on FreeNAS or Unraid. I just think they're overly complex for the average home user. Now, I wouldn't even call myself an average home user. I do some pretty advanced stuff in here, and I have all the tools I need to do that. And like I say, I bought Drive Bender. I bought 5 licenses for it when it was $6.95. They have since raised the price to $9.95, and I haven't seen a dime of that money. Thanks a lot, Drive Bender. No, I'm not the reason the price went up. But, and they still support it, and, I can't say it. And they just had a version update. I'm not installing it yet, but they just had a version update, so it's still being supported. So, get in there, and I'm going to do another separate video on Drive Bender, the ins and outs of it, and show people that. I've also got another video coming up on Plex, because I've been using Plex for years now, and yet I'm learning new stuff on it every day. Bite My Bits right now, or Bit My Bites, is it Bite My Bits? He's doing a whole series on his, he's where I went initially to get my Plex information. And but I'm going to go into some detail about how to best convert your videos for Plex, and I'm going to show you the actual results using a TiVo, using a web browser as a viewer, and using a Roku, and show you the difference and what effect how you rip videos has on playback of the videos on those devices. So, but that's another story for another day. But anyway, this is what I use. This is the dog food I eat in my network. You can see it's not overly complicated. You can also see Lansweeper is a wonderful program to manage all this, and it's free. You couldn't ask for better than that. I was using Spiceworks. I have been for years. Spiceworks is still a good program, but as far as I'm concerned, Lansweeper beats it hands down. But go out and check it out for yourself. Again, there's a link down in the comments section. So, and I don't know that I'll do a video on Lansweeper. I might, if there's enough demand for it. But anyway, I hope you found this video informative and entertaining. And thanks so much for watching. We're almost up to 500 subscribers. And I'm going to have a little giveaway when we get to 500 subscribers. I've got a couple of Eureka DVDs that I have on hand that I'm just going to give away. I don't know exactly how we'll do the contest. We'll figure something out. But once we hit our 500 subscriber, we will we'll be doing a giveaway. And I encourage you to keep watching us. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Give us a like. I'd love to get 100 likes at one of these videos. We've gotten close to them. But if you're so inclined, give us a like down below and leave a comment or any questions you have. I've been able to keep up with them so far, and I'm going to keep trying to do that. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the other side.